Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and Tour de Fleece 2023. I have my hair up today, so hopefully we won't have any issues with my microphone. Yesterday was an interesting day. So as soon as I am done recording, the first thing I do is I check to make sure nothing went wrong with the recording. And so yesterday, as soon as I was done, I hit play on my phone and checked to see if everything was all right. And there was no audio. And I was like, wait. But I tested everything before I recorded. What's going on? And then I realized my phone wasn't actually producing any audio. Didn't matter what I was trying to play. Long story short, it took a few minutes to figure out, a little bit of worry and panic, but I stayed calm. I was amazingly calm through it. I had given my husband a set of my earbuds, Bluetooth earbuds. I didn't need those anymore. They weren't the most comfortable for me, and so I gave them to him because he really liked them. And he had them, and he had been using them. And while I was recording, it was not an issue. And while he was using them, it wasn't an issue, but he hadn't turned them off. And when they disconnected with his phone, they tried to reconnect with my phone because I had not taken them out of the Bluetooth devices. Oh my goodness. I was so relieved that I did not need to re-record yesterday's vlog. So you can imagine my frustration when it occurred to me when I started editing it and I found that my hair had been scratching the microphone the whole time. Yeah. So let's hope today goes a little bit more smoothly. But it is something I wanted to make a note of. We have definitely passed the halfway point. We are in technically the final stretch. So we're doing Tour de Fleece to run the full length of Tour de France and Tour de France Femmes. So instead of being done this upcoming Sunday, we have a full week beyond that. And I think I think that there will be more casualties, more people withdrawing from the event as we get closer. There's a fatigue factor, and it shows up in the strangest ways, like the flat tire the other day, my technology issues. Oh, let me pull this. I have some other stuff here before I start spinning. Technology issues. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. But I have to tell you, it has been a wonderful Tour de Fleece for me. It has been a wonderful challenge and learning experience behind the scenes. I have a new computer. I have a new, an updated software that I have been using, and there is nothing like doing a 25 to 30 minute vlog every day to test out the bugs in the system, and there have been bugs. But I'm learning to work around them, and most importantly, I'm staying calm through the technical difficulties. And that's huge. That's a major improvement for me. It's telling me that I am pacing myself better and keeping things in better perspective. And I hope you people out there watching my video and spinning along are remembering to do the same thing. Keep it in perspective, stay calm, pace yourself, and most importantly, enjoy. So I have a topic for today. There's multiple cards, so it's obviously a big topic. And the topic is lanolin, dander, dirt, sand, and other stuff. The stuff that we can find in our in our fleece. And it's funny, before I even get started with that, I should also point out I finished doing my purple single yesterday. I've done it all into one bobbin because I will wind this onto a center pull ball and use it as a plying ball and ply this on itself. I know that there are some that says that it adjusts the twist a little. Works great for me. It will work great for this fiber. with an event like this and everything that I'm doing, this is the easiest way for me to accomplish the goal that I want. And it will work fine for me with this fiber. I'm just letting it rest. That's why I'm not applying it today. I'm going to let it rest today, and then I will apply it. But I have moved on to my green, and I started spinning that to, get ahead. Well, yeah, to get ahead. I've reached a point during Tour de Fleece that I can't sit down and watch TV if I'm not spinning. I have to take little breaks and stuff like that, of course, but I've reached a point where moving hurts less than not moving. And actually, overall, I'm not having any real physical pain or discomfort. Nothing out of the ordinary from having done this every day. So moving every day, doing the spinning every day is helping me keep going and feel good as I'm doing so. It's keeping my emotional status in a positive place. So I'm going to keep on spinning. All right, so the topic, oh yes, and that also, I wanted to cover this before I forget, just in case I start running out of time. I had the most interesting positive experiences yesterday in the form of comments and questions. One of them was made through the regular, YouTube comments, and the other came through other channels. Oh my goodness. Really? Now is not the time to play under there. Guess who is over here making noise? And I think the camera won't, the microphone won't pick it up. But, yes, Ringo has decided, I'm talking. It must be time for me to come play in her quadrant. But, so the first one that came through a regular YouTube comment, and the other one came through channels from somebody that I know in non-spinning world. And I wanted to share them. The first one was a comment meant they said, and I loved this. It made me so happy. I hadn't really thought about it. They said, watching your videos like being in a guild meeting. And I mentioned it to my husband, and he said, was that a good thing? I said, yes, because back in the day when I used to go to guild meetings with my daughter, specifically Weaving Guild, which also had some spinners in it, it's wonderful to go to a guild meeting because you're going and you're having an opportunity to listen to people, talk about the different skills and crafts and techniques of their craft. And that's one of the great things about belonging to a guild. I haven't been able to belong to a guild since I've been in a couple small groups, but I haven't really been in a guild since I moved here to Virginia. My schedule, the times in which they meet, just don't work well for me. So, and then of course we've had the less than social period of time. Let's just call it that. But I thought about that, and it made me really happy because I realized that in a way was part of my initial, some of my initial goal behind making these videos, is to have a way to reach out to people and include people. And I get this from when I watch other vloggers, on the different subjects that I enjoy watching. That's how I feel. I feel the companionship. I don't feel like I am alone. I can learn things from watching the others. And so, yeah, it's it creates a virtual guild that we belong to. And so that really made me happy. I've had a lot of comments that have been made that have just really helped boost my energy levels while I've been doing this. But I hadn't had that one yet, that spark, that light bulb going off in my head going, oh yeah, I guess that this does kind of count as like a guild lecture, series. And then the other one is that a friend of the family reached out to ask me a question on something they were trying to accomplish. And while it's not something I have actually done before, it's similar to things that I have done. And one of the things that, and I have to sometimes think, I think that what I do is really simple. I think that I tend to not recognize in myself things that others find difficult are things that I find easy. But I do seem to have, my own family told me this, I do seem to have a canny ability to look things up and research and understand what it is I'm seeing in a much shorter amount of time than others do. And when it comes to things that are similar to what I've already done, it just seems to make sense. It clicks. So in this case, somebody reached out to me because they're trying to do something. They'd run into a bit of a roadblock. They thought I might be able to help, and I was able to help. Whether or not they'll be successful in the task will be a matter of their own ability to practice and get it right. It had to do with to make it simple, so that if it'd be like if I was being asked how do you put a grommet in something, and I chuckle because grommets, every time I've had to put a grommet in some fabric, I have to practice. I have to cross my fingers and really hope for the best, because something about hammering metal onto cloth can trip me up. So those two things yesterday really made me feel wonderful. And I wanted to share that with you because this is a community. Well, we may not be able to get together around a room and visit with each other in that way, but it does serve a purpose. It does have value because, you know, the truth is there's a lot of reasons why many of us do not go out to guild meetings. And the reasons can vary greatly, from location to physical issues, time constraints, financial constraints. And so if I'm providing something that makes it so that it helps fill the gap for people who can't get out and join a guild, or can't always find a guild in their area, then that just makes me feel wonderful. So thank you so much for participating in this. All right, we better get on to all these cards. And I have lots of cards. That's only because I made lots and lots of notes that I wanted to cover, and we will see what I can get through in the time. All right. All right, raw versus clean, spinning raw versus clean. So the first thing before I start in on any of it, as I've said in other videos, I will repeat again. My own personal preference is to spin as clean a fleece, as clean a fiber as I can. Some of this that I've been spinning, some of this that I've been spinning has still had a little bit of lanolin left in it. And it's still been a little, it's getting to be an older fleece. It was a little crusty. As you spin, it puts little tiny micro particles into the air. So if I spin something that hasn't been cleaned, it can cause allergies. My husband and I, we've been wondering, is it the fleece that I'm spinning that is causing us itchier eyes? Then he says, no, I think it's probably the smoke coming down from Canada. It's probably a little bit of both. And the fact that we have cats. And because I have been spinning so much and putting so much fiber in the air, I haven't been able to vacuum quite as much or keep up with it quite as well as I would in a time in which I'm not spinning every day. So spinning as clean a fleece as possible is something I prefer to do. There are people who will prefer or try it differently, and that is a personal choice. We discovered that my husband was extremely sensitive to certain particles being spun in the air, so I just started cleaning all my fiber. So, raw versus clean. It is a personal choice, but please do keep in mind, especially if you're going to do demonstrations inside a building as opposed to out in the fresh air. You are, as you spin, putting particles into the air. And you need to understand that if you are in an enclosed space, as you are demonstrating, you could be causing unsuspecting people to have an allergy attack. And even if you are somewhere that they should be aware, like at a county fair, keep in mind that a lot of people don't associate this with being an allergy. So just keep that in mind. It's just a caveat I like to put out whenever this topic comes up. All right, moving on to the rest. Lanolin. And this is, we're gonna go down this little laundry list of individual topics. Lanolin. It is a waxy-like substance. People call lanolin is a sheep, something the sheep produce. It is a waxy-like substance, although you will hear it referred to as a greasy fleece, or spinning in the grease, leaving the lanolin in. It is actually a wax-like substance that is created. So you need to think about it as a wax rather than a grease. And some scouring products will handle both equally well. All right, but that's what it is. It's naturally produced by the sheep. It can be left intact or removed when a fleece is cleaned, but not scoured. The lanolin can provide a water-resistant texture to the spun wool. So there is a purpose to spinning in the grease. But the key there in that sentence was when it has been cleaned but not scoured. So there are processes that you can have the lanolin removed, and there are ways to clean your fleece without removing the lanolin. So if you want to leave the lanolin in, especially in a low lanolin fleece, and there are a number of breeds. I was just watching some discussion about someone who was spinning an Icelandic, and they were talking about how there was little to no lanolin in their specific fleece. So you can definitely leave the lanolin in. When it's a heavily lanolin fleece, when it is dripping, you might find it less than pleasant, but it's your choice. But clean the fleece nonetheless. Get as much of the animal product that is not lanolin. Get the debris out. Get the poo and the pee and all of the, get all of that out. It just makes for a more pleasant spin for everyone. So the next one, this one is something that can be a bit of a problem. Okay, dander. Dander, many animals do produce dander. We produce dander. And while it can be an allergen for some, dander shouldn't cause issues in the spinning process. So if you have a fleece that has dander, okay, the big one out there is Angora rabbits have lots of dander. And if you have an animal that has dander, then it shouldn't cause a problem unless there's someone in your home that is allergic to that specific dander, in which case the spinning is going to put all that dander up into the air and you're going to breathe it in. So while it is not a problem for your fiber, it does go up in the air. So just another cautionary tale. It can be easily washed out by soaking the fiber. It will come, the fiber will come clean of dander fairly easy. But you shouldn't be overly concerned if it's still in there, unless of course you have the allergies. Okay? All right. Now, this is the interesting one. So we have two terms that you'll see tossed around. And sometimes I've read people get confused as to which one is which and if they're basically the same thing. And I did a bunch of research to try to really understand the difference, and they're not the same thing. We have yoke versus scruff. Okay, so yolk is something that it can stain your fleece, but it is not something that is a problem. You know, it usually is not a problem for the fleece. So it is a yellowy tint, but yolk should wash out. If you have a yellowy substance and it doesn't wash out, but instead the washing process, the scouring process has now turned it gummy, sticky, then we are dealing with scruff. And scruff is caused by mites. So it is an indication that there is, there's been a little bit of health issue. There's been mites present in the sheep. It does not scour out. In dark fleeces, it will show up as very obvious little kind of white gummy specks. It can indicate other issues that you need to check for. And yolk, the same kind of thing. Whenever you start seeing something like this, heavy amount of dander, except for Angors, which that seems to be normal, a heavy amount of dander, a yellow tinge, a yolk to it, the presence of scruff, you need to know that it can be a result of the animal having some health issues. This is a time to really check the fleece to see if they have weak tips, weak spots, breaks in the staple length. It's also really good if you find scruff in your fleece to let the breeder know, if possible, if that is information that you have, because it is an indication that there is a health issue for the animal. So, if in doubt, do a little bit of Google searching to find out. But yolk, from whatever, it will wash out. It shouldn't harm the fleece. I do have one fleece that is gorgeous, and it does have scruff in it. You can tell the difference. It's big, flaky stuff. I pick it out. The fleece is still strong, and it is very, very pretty, so I'm working through dealing with the icky scruff. It is a definite, if you have the time, the patience, and the fleece overall is worth it, you can deal with it. But it is not fun. It is not a fun thing to spin. Just wanted to share that with you. Okay, moving on to something a little bit more manageable. Okay, dirt, vegetable matter, and sand can all be issues in a fleece. Where is the animal being grazed can change the vegetable matter and content, debris content in your fleece. Regardless of the animal type, some fleece will require a more cleaning, more prepping than others. While the temptation is to spin the fiber without cleaning it first, especially in the case of the alpaca, lots of people are like, oh, just spin the alpaca without cleaning it. While the temptation is there, okay, in addition to the allergy issues, there are a few things that can pop up. But the allergy is the big one. And the mess. Oh my goodness. So I've been doing this spinning without my normal cloth on my lap. But when I have been preparing my fleece, my cloth has gotten filthy. And even a clean and prepped alpaca still drops a lot of vegetable matter on it. So it is messy. It can be very messy. And alpaca are known to roll around and get fine debris embedded way into the deep parts of their locks. Vegetable matter can be very different depending on the area that they are raised in. You can have everything from simple grasses to horrible burrs. You really do not want to be spinning and run into burrs, but more importantly, You don't want to be running burrs through your hand cards or your drum cards. Thorns, burrs, big hard matter. These things need to be removed before you prep your fiber to go into a carder. Just keep that in mind. A good picking of the fleece, a good hand picking, if nothing else, helps remove a lot of the debris. But as much as vegetable matter might be an irritant, the thing that has irritated me the most with the fleece is a Shetland fleece that I think it was a Shetland. I think I had a bit of a merino once too that did this. But I had a fleece, I had a couple fleece. I had a fleece though, that was, the animals clearly had been raised on somebody once told me that we raise animals and we rear children. So the animal had clearly been raised on a sandy area, and the sand, it was a fleece that was worth processing. And I sat down and I hand picked it apart, and then I ran it through some combs, and then I used the fiber. It was worth it, but I did it on a surface that was easily swept up because the sand was so embedded into the fine fibers of that fleece that it just, I mean, I was making a sandbox. if you have a lovely, strong, beautiful fleece and you really want to spin it, it is worth getting all that sand and vegetable matter out of. All right, other contaminants, Angora rabbit. One of the big things, I've talked about Angora as far as the dander, but the big one with Angora, even very, very clean looking Angora will have urine in it. Dried, small, microscopic urine particles. And for many people, the thing that causes them the allergy isn't the dander, it's the urine. It's kind of like with cats. Everyone's like, oh, the dander from the cats. It's actually the cat's spit that has a tendency to cause people allergies more than the dander. So if you're spinning cat hair, you're spinning Angora, keep in mind the other contaminants that could be causing the issue. You might not be able to see it. It may be microscopic and it goes into the air and it can cause the problem. And then, of course, oh, yeah, the last one. Great. The last one, fecal matter. These are animals. They poo. A clean fleece. Remove the contaminants. Even if you want to leave the lanolin in a sheep's fleece, clean it. Wash away as much of the other contaminants as you can. Because we can't control a lot of things, like the fires that are making us congested down here. We can't control that. And I can't even imagine if I was anywhere near these fires. Well, actually I can, because I've lived in Colorado during high fire seasons. So I just wanted to do this. We can't control a lot of things, but we can control how clean and how well prepped our fiber is. So even if I just want to spin it from the lock, it is at least a good thing to try to get as much of the fiber cleaned. Sometimes I leave a little lanolin in, because I actually prefer to leave a little bit in. But it is a personal choice. These are just some of the things to consider. There's a lot of information on topics like yoke and scruff and dander out there. So if you need to find out some more information, if you suspect you have it, a great way to deal with it is reach out to breeders, etc. Ask them. They will know, because these are things that can cause issue for their animals. They're your friends. They're your community. Let them know. And let them know in a kind way, not because you're upset. Because we're all in this together. And we want to make this something that works. All right, well, that is enough for this topic of today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Until then, happy spinning.